at my first year here, Jack Roslovic threw it in the group chat, and I didn't think the boys were going to find out, and somehow he dug it up, and I wasn't happy, but it is what it is. Still waiting on royalties from my dad for that, by the way.
For sure. Welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Jamie Thomas alongside Tyler Esquivel. Are you a co-host? We're just trying to figure out where.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, but if I'm going to be a co-host, I have to have like my own segment somehow. I do a lot of pondering.
Yeah.
You know, in the mornings, you know, whether it's in the shower or on the way to work. Mostly on the way to work.
Yeah.
Focus on cleaning myself.
That is the main reason why you're in the shower.
I'd like
I
to
hope
think,
so.
I
Yeah.
hope.
Anyway, on to the pondering.
Yeah.
in your
So
car.
I don't know if you guys, the viewers, or you have any ideas of what I could do. I have a few thoughts we can discuss off air.
Yeah, we have a lot of time between podcasts. So,
Winnipeg Jets off for 2 days.
I know, and well deserved.
Oh yeah.
They played a lot.
There's a lot of game time decisions going on lately, so I think it was like, you know what? Let's just everybody have a little rest here.
I just got a text from a buddy who there's a meme out right now, and it says it's a photo of a cop and the rest of the NHL realizing they haven't seen Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde play in the same line yet. Yeah. And the guy's like, mother of God.
Yeah.
So, which brings me to our first point of the podcast, return of Kyle Connor last night. And I think there's a few things we can get into on this one, Tyler, is the fact that how quickly it happened, because the injury happens in Anaheim on December 10th, and 5 weeks and a couple of days, I believe.
Yeah.
Kyle Connor's back in the lineup. So we've been watching this happen. You see players skate on the ice, and the common denominator is people saying he looks pretty good when he was skating. Didn't look like a guy that had injured his knee.
Right. I mean, you go to his first media session, which happened to be before the game.
Yeah.
And he basically alluded to the fact that, you know, Gabe was a bit more sticky on what kind of brace he was wearing. And I had heard that.
Was it 3 or 4 braces?
Well,
or
I'm
something?
not exactly sure the number, but all I had heard on the internal side of things was that, yeah, he was just being very meticulous about what kind of brace it was.
Yeah.
And I think Kyle was kind of making fun of him a little bit.
I think it was.
Because he was like, yeah, I just picked a brace and went. Like, it was whatever. So, hey, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Like, did you have any picky things when you were growing up?
100%. Like, but I think this is totally different. Like, with my parents, like, if you're picky about food, you're like, eat it anyways. And now,
true.
There's our little things, you know, watching my kids grow up. My one kid didn't like if her sleeve was touching her gloves. They're just weird little things that everybody has their quirks.
Yeah, like when I was playing hockey, you know, my dad, you know, when I was really young, he would tie my skates, but I refused to pull my socks tight. So my sock would be like this on my foot and just ram it into the skate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everybody's got their picky things, but I thought it was really funny that Kyle was very open and kind of chirping Gabe.
And very dry the way he did it. Like, it's just a dry chirp, very well done.
Yes.
And that's what I mean. Of course, you just heard Neal Pionk off the top of the show. Nobody better than dry chirp than Neal Pionk. Of course, he'll be our guest a little bit later on the podcast. But speaking of Kyle Connor, we'll talk about his performance against the New York Islanders in his return to the lineup. But first, here's Kyle Connor on his quick return to the lineup after his knee injury.
Like you said, I kind of looked at it as a challenge and learning experience of, you know, what, like you said, this is kind of the first injury I've had dealt with for quite some time to be out. And I learned a lot about the MCL and the knee and, you know, recovery, exercise, rehabbing and stuff to, you know, enhance everything around it. And, you know, obviously patience is a key when you're in a situation like this. You know, obviously, you know, we're all competitive athletes and want to be on the ice every chance you can get. But, you know, at times you need to know when to kind of hold back and, you know, not push it at days as well.
All right, there's so very impressive stuff, the way he did it and the way he handled it. He wanted to be on the ice as soon as possible, and you have to love that because as good as the Jets were playing, it must have been hard for Kyle to sit back and watch.
Yeah, when you're a competitor like that, you want to be out there. But obviously, the Jets have been playing well. You know, and there's an 8-game win streak in there, right? Too. So the pressure to come back probably isn't as much, you know, as if things are going well. And you know, Mark Scheifele goes down. Maybe that altered the timeline a little bit. Who really knows? But it was great to see Kyle back in there. I mean, he made one play where it was a quick drive to the net, kind of off a nothing zone entry. I remember looking at you last night going, that's nice to have back.
He didn't look like a guy that had missed 5.5 weeks,
He
basically.
played 19 minutes, which is the standard time for a top-line forward.
Yeah, and so what I found interesting, too, with Rick Bowness beforehand, going into the Islander game on Tuesday, was that he didn't say, we're going to ease him back in the lineup.
No.
Which is what we heard about Gabe Vilardi, right?
And typically with guys coming back from injury,
there was no
organization, that's always been the approach.
Yeah.
No, not last night.
So maybe Kyle had said something before, but great to have Kyle Connor back in the lineup. And, Paul, I listened to Paul Edmonds and Mitch in the pregame show yesterday on CJOB and Power 97. Paul made a very good point. You get Vilardi back, you lose Kyle Connor. You get Kyle Connor back, you lost Mark Scheifele. They've not been together yet, outside of the preseason and a little bit to start the year. So we're waiting to see how that looks. And the constant thing, another thing, too, is you're always like, how does this, when this guy comes back, what does it mean for so-and-so? Yeah,
I mean, in this league, you can't really play fantasy hockey that. A little bit, to steal a line from Adam Lowry on his interview with Sarah last night. Because you just never know what's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all these grandiose plans in your head, thinking, we're going to be awesome if this, and this guy are all in the lineup. But in reality, that may never happen. So knock on wood. But I think, the things are looking up for the Winnipeg Jets. They got a few days off right now. They don't play until Saturday in Ottawa, and then have another day of rest before taking on Boston, and then obviously the home and home with Toronto to close things out.
What a way to close out the first
pseudo first
especially
half. Going into the All-Star game. It's kind of like, a bit of an exhibition in a way for hockey fans here in Canada.
Gabe Vilardi, we talked about him and his knee brace and the comeback from his knee injury as well. But what I will say, after the game against Philadelphia, someone had asked him, do you tip your hat to the goaltender, how well he played that night? Because after they got shut out by the Philadelphia Flyers. And I found this very interesting because we'll listen to Gabe Vilardi's comment about being shut out and having to tip the hat to the goaltender. And I'm trying to remember his name from the Flyers.
Ersson,
yes, thank you.
I think.
Yes.
Although I heard there was some controversy on pronunciation.
There always is with this.
But here on Ground Control, he is Ersson.
Just for now. And leading into this clip, here's Gabe Vilardi following the 2-0 loss to the Philadelphia Flyers.
No, I don't tip hat to anybody, I think. It's just we didn't score. You got to find ways. You got to get in front of the goal. You got to jab at pucks in front and keep battling and win your stick battles in front. And I mean, we had a lot of good looks.
So you have to love when someone says what you have to do, but it's another thing to do it. And Vilardi literally does that in the first goal against the New York Islanders to make it 1-0. So it was great to see that work out. And it's funny when someone says that and immediately does it the next game. It's great to see. Another thing that was great to see, on top of Kyle Connor, returning to the lineup, Gabe Vilardi following up on what he said they had to do. Mason Appleton, 25 games have gone by, and finally the puck goes in the net. So I want to talk about a couple of things, Tyler. First off, have you ever seen a goaltender lose? And I was sitting beside you, and you're like, the goalie's Sorokin's lost his blade.
That's a rare one. And I mean, you saw the point shot that came in that knocked it out. That was on the money. Yeah. It could not have been more pinpoint accurate. And no, I mean, kudos to the Winnipeg Jets for realizing what had happened, and then getting the Islanders into a situation and Sorokin where he had to go side to side because they knew he couldn't push off with that right skate. So, man, pretty good. Yeah, Neal Pionk scored a goal.
It was wild because you talk about the Jets not getting puck luck against the Flyers. Well, they had all kinds of puck luck in that second period. And so on top of that, Mason Appleton scores a goal, goes behind the red line, just throws it in front, goes off Sorokin's pad and into the net. So here's Mason Appleton on ending the drought, finally.
It's, it can be tough. Like you said, it's not always in my job description, but, I had a hot start to the year scoring, and then you go on a stretch like that, you're kind of gripping it a little bit. It was funny, I was aimlessly just shooting pucks in the net after practice yesterday, and Neal came up to me, he's like, just take a breath, get around the net, and, it'll happen for you. So, it was just nice to see one go in. And
ordinarily we do the mailbag here, but I take fault for this because when you put a tweet together and you post it, I found that if you got too wordy and then I put the question at the end, people don't read that question and then deliver. The previous week we had great response. So my question was, who should be joining Connor Hellebuck and Rick Bowness at the All-Star game in Toronto? To me, it would be Mark Scheifele.
Did you get any responses?
I didn't get any responses because I have to literally, it's on me. I have to put question of the day for ground control. No responses, my fault. But to me, it's Mark Scheifele.
It's real tough.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Scheifele, Nikolai would have been fun too.
Yeah.
But, the two, Rick and Connor, they'll have fun.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, good for Rick Bowness. Almost went last year, very close, I believe.
I think we lost the game. I think it was a game in Dallas that we ended up losing that kind of took that away from him.
Yeah, now he's back. Now he gets to go to the All-Star game. So congratulations to Rick Bowness and clearly to Connor Hellebuck, who we've mentioned in the podcast before. Some good, interesting news coming out today right before we started the podcast. And if we had the breaking news. So we knew this was coming. At some point, we knew Amazon was going to dip their foot into the NHL pool.
Yeah. So obviously, for those that aren't clued in, Bally Sports, which I believe was owned by Diamond Sports
Group or something.
There was some question marks as to what the regional broadcasting rights were going to be with them going forward due to some financial issues. I believe that's what it was. A lot. Amazon has stepped up and I believe purchased them, and that's going to affect all the regional broadcasting rights for a lot of
I think
MLB.
11 NHL teams, I believe.
Okay, 11 NHL teams, but then also MLB and NBA. So obviously don't know the timeline, but fans in those markets will be able to watch games on Amazon Prime
at some point
in the future here. So
Amazon had their foot in the pool of the NFL. They have the Thursday night game, which you have to have Amazon Prime in the United States. Of course, up here we have different.
Then the NFL game the other night on Peacock.
Yeah.
We don't have. Can you get Peacock in Canada?
No, I don't think so.
I don't have it, so clearly not.
No,
because I have every other one.
Well, we're fortunate that we have TSN. You can watch the games anyways, regardless. We don't have
Shout
to pay.
out to our regional broadcast.
That's right. Thank you, regional broadcast partner, for not only hosting Jets games and allowing us to watch NFL games if we were not subscribed to Peacock or Amazon Prime. So great news there in terms of a regional. That all ties into money, right? That is great.
It's the only reason why we're here.
That's exactly how it works. Another thing that works as we move on, Neal Pionk coming up here momentarily. It's the play of the week. And
we know Neal didn't make it. Just kidding. I feel like I have a bit of a banter back and forth with Neal. So anyway. Did he make the play?
It's not him. It is Joshua T. Morrissey, even though Morrissey's middle name does not start with a T. But it's just a joke with Mitch and I and yourself.
Those are Mitch's jokes. He gives everybody a random letter as a middle name. So Jamie W. Thomas.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay,
but Joshua T. Morrissey, W is the middle name.
Wow, nice.
not even knowing that on hand. But play of the week, we Daniel Moss, of course, who does the editing of this podcast, the important part of it. We had a banter back and forth. I felt it should have been the roommates. Remember when Dylan Sandberg went behind the net against Columbus through a nice pass out to Cole Perfetti?
That was nice.
But after further conversation with Daniel S. Moss, we decided that it's going to be, I guess that's wrong. We're going to go to the play of the week, and it's courtesy of Joshua Morrissey.
Towards center ice. Bean will step up. He gave it away to Lowry, who will truck inside the zone. On the far side, Morrissey moving in, shoots and scores! What a blast by Josh Morrissey. Walked into that slap shot off the rush. A great pass by Lowry, and it's 3-0 Winnipeg.
Hi, I'm Mason Appleton.
And Appleton is shot, they score!
And this is the Ground Control Podcast.
Neal, thanks so much for doing this. We'll get right to it off the top. So I've seen you get underneath the skin of opponents. Clearly you have that edge with teammates, and obviously, with four brothers, you have that as well. So I just want to show you a video, and I'd asked Mason Appleton about the last person he'd want to watch an NFL game with. Yeah. So, okay, I don't know if you've seen this at all.
Go ahead.
But I would never watch a game with Pionk. Schmidt maybe I could do just because he's always
kind of nice.
Yeah, he's always buzzed. He's just in a good mood all the time. But I think me and P would maybe end up fighting each other.
Okay, so when did you know you had this gift to get underneath people's skin?
Probably started pretty early, like you said, with growing up with four brothers. Always throwing jabs at each other, some way, shape, or form. And I'm sure they were very immature a long time ago, but that kind of just led into locker room banter. That's one of my favorite things about coming to the rink every day and making the guys laugh or doing whatever it is. On the flip side of that, you got to be able to take some of it too. So
For sure.
Those social media videos come out and guys are throwing jabs at me. It is what it is.
The baseball, the commercial video has to come up often, right? Is that must be abused at this point?
Yeah. At my first year here, Jack Roslovic threw it in the group chat, and I didn't think the boys were going to find out, and somehow he dug it up, and I wasn't happy, but it is what it is. Still waiting on royalties from my dad for that, by the way.
For sure. Speaking of that, I asked this about Adam Lauer. He's got a big family. He's got 3 siblings. You have 4. So I pose this question to you. What are the power rankings with you, Corbin, Nate, Joe, and Aaron? From your parents' perspective.
Well, the baby's the favorite, right? So Aaron's 1. That's the easy one. The rest gets a little murky.
So is it Aaron's 1 with both mom and dad?
Oh, mom and dad, not even close. It's mama's boy, everything.
Yeah.
He was the baby, the family.
Does he feed off? Like, he takes advantage of this, obviously?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up taking advantage of it. And then the funny part is that he started, he would always get the benefit of the doubt until about probably 9, 10, 11 years old. Because then he started crying wolf, saying that we were doing things that we weren't actually doing. But, of course, they sided with him. So he goes 1.
I know these are in flux at all times.
Yeah,
so
course.
as of this moment. Yeah.
Well, for the sake of the podcast, I'll just put myself last just to not get any nasty texts after this.
Right. Because Karen's going to see this probably.
Yeah, of course. Well, so we'll go Aaron 1. Corbin, my oldest brother, just had a baby girl 2 months ago, so he's 2.
Congrats, uncle.
Yeah. Thank you. So he's 2 right now because he's getting a lot of attention with Rainey, the new baby. And then Nate and Joe, another toss up. We'll go Joe 3, Nate 4, me 5.
Okay, fair. Mentors trip. Your dad Scott came on it. What was your favorite moment with your dad?
Favorite moment? He's not going to like that I say this, but I beat him 5 straight games at cribbage in the Plains. So it was funny. We played 12 total games, and on the way to San Jose, to Arizona, and to Anaheim, he beat me 6-1. And I was down 6-1 on the flight home, and I beat him in 5 straight. And I think his quote on the plane was, "I'll be thoroughly examining the cards when we get off the plane." So that was
it's not Dad's fault at all.
Yeah,
it's
from my perspective, that was
that's
the most fun for him. He's been getting into golf, so I think us golfing together, playing a little scramble together, was pretty fun. So that was probably his highlight.
We all have something from every one of our parents. So what would your mom say? Would she look at you? You're so much like your dad. What would that trait be?
Probably the hockey mindset, the coaching mindset. He's been a coach of youth hockey for over 20 years now. And I always kind of clicked that way. I kind of ticked that way ever since I was young. The story that she tells, and I was just telling this in the locker room today, guys with kids all around. I was just learning to count in school, and my mom went in to pick me up one day, and the teacher said, he knows a lot of numbers. He's really good at counting, but he's missing some numbers, and I don't know why. So she wrote down all the numbers that I said. It was like 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, and wrote them all down. And my mom couldn't figure it out. She gave it to my dad, and my dad looked at it. He said, "That's our roster." So I knew the roster by heart, but I didn't know all the numbers.
Okay.
So that's kind of where it started. And if you were to ask my parents, what do I take from my dad, it would probably be the hockey mindset, coaching mindset.
Okay. What about from your mom?
From my mom, I was a marketing major in college, and I think she was too. So from that business perspective, that's probably what I get from her. Being decisive. My dad's very indecisive. My mom's very decisive. So when we go on vacations,
she runs the show.
She'll plan everything out and kind of run the show. And then I remember the one time I went on vacation with my dad, Joe, and myself, and I ran it because I was making all the decisions, telling us.
Because you watched your mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a few of us are decisive, and then a few of the brothers are indecisive. So it's a good mix.
Of course. Rumor has it your dad grabbed the clipboard first on the road trip. Is that true?
He had to have. Yeah, he's always drawing up plays.
Holiday Cup. We had heard about this before the Heritage Classic in Regina. Is it still going? And if it isn't, is there another form of it going on right now? And tell people what it was, actually, first off.
Yeah, so the Holiday Cup started, I think, when I had to be about probably 9 or 10 years old. It was myself and Nate and Joe Joe was probably old enough to play at the time. The Ahmet brothers. Wyatt Ahmet currently plays for the Colorado Eagles in the American League. The Koepke brothers. I played high school with Travis, and then Cole Koepke plays for Tampa and Syracuse. And we would get together on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we would play some form of hockey. If the lake was frozen on Thanksgiving, we would go play on the lake. If not, we'd play in the driveway. And then on Christmas, we would play on the lake or in the driveway. Sometimes we would go to Hermantown's rink. And we would play older brothers versus younger brothers. So it was me, Travis, Wade versus Nate, Nate, Cole, and Wyatt. And then we'd play, we'd play best of 3 or best of 5, whatever it was. And of course, when we got older, it got more physical. And
no doubt.
Yeah, it's some funny stories. But then, so fast forward to today. Obviously, we're all over the U.S. and Canada now, so it's kind of hard to meet up. But we do meet up in the summer. The past 2 summers, we've done the Holiday Cup, not on a holiday specifically, but we did older brothers versus younger brothers in a golf tournament. We just did best ball, and then both years it came down to hole 18, which was incredible. So it was actually flipped. Last year we were down 2 with 3 holes to play, and we won the last 3 holes. This past summer we were up 2 with 3 to play. Same course, same situation, just flipped. I had a 3.5-foot putt to seal the deal and win the match, and I putted it about a foot, left it about 2 feet short. Then they beat us on 18. So they won last year. We weren't happy about it, but we gave them too many strokes, by the way. If they're listening to this,
well, you have to send the video out just for that purpose. The hip check is a hit that isn't used very often anymore. Why did you decide to perfect it, and then why do you continue to use it here and there, of course?
I think it's just nature of the beast. I remember I did it a couple times in junior, and kind of the same thing. I was smaller in junior. I wasn't the smallest, but I was smaller, so I was naturally lower than most guys. And it's not something I go into games saying, I'm going to do it tonight.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm trying to cut a guy off or angle a guy. He makes a nice move to the inside, and I'm trying to get a piece of him on the way back. Obviously, there's certain ways to do it and legal ways to do it. And that's just kind of where it stems from.
How much do you enjoy it? And you listen, whenever it happens, because it happens so infrequently, fans love it. Like, do you enjoy throwing the odd occasional hip check there, here and there?
If it gets the crowd riled up, it's fun. Again, there's been times where I've missed too, right? Like you go in and you miss the guy, and then you feel like an idiot because you took a bad angle.
Yeah.
So if you can get the guy, preferably with your shoulder, of course, but if you can get a piece of him, it helps throughout the game and it fires the crowd up.
Speaking of fired up, you finished with a silver medal in the team fantasy football league.
Did.
What type of champion is Mark Scheifele? So obviously so does he talk about it lots?
No, he was good about it.
He's a gracious champion.
He was gracious. Yeah. No, we had a little banter before the game, but Vladdy Nemestikov is my assistant GM. I want that on record. He's my assistant GM. I'm the GM.
Yeah.
I brought him on this year.
I'm going to ask you about that afterwards, but carry on, please.
Yeah, I brought him on this year. He was a good ad. We had an exit interview. We'll talk about his future. No, it was good though. We had Scheif in the championship, and we put up 67 points, our season low all year. He put up 148, so it didn't matter anyways. But a little disappointing at the end.
Yeah, so So talk about getting Vladdy on board with you in that one. Is this just to bring more people closer?
Yeah.
Had you heard about him? Had he had some skills? Did he apply for the job? What was his resume like? All that stuff.
I had no idea. Ownership came to me, said we had to fill this position. We had the budget to do so. No, in all seriousness, this started last year. We wanted to get everybody involved who wanted to be involved. And then Vladdy got traded to us after the deadline last year, and then this summer he was texting guys asking to join a team, and I took him on. So it was good actually. We had a good relationship with it.
And he's easy to work with. It seems like it.
Yeah, very. He was always on the waiver wire checking guys out, and we were going back and forth. It was good.
So he's in charge of personnel, or is he kind of the scout that's looking for players to join?
He's kind of the day-to-day guy. I'm the big picture guy, so he'll give me a little ins and outs on each guy, and I'm the big picture.
After you just told us what you did earlier, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, thanks so much for doing this. Good luck the rest of the way, and all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have a pretty good back and forth going with Neal, and I had to ask the question off the top because of the way Mason Appleton had reacted when asking about if he could watch a game with Neal Pionk.
Right.
Said he couldn't do it. They ended up watching that game.
They did?
Yes. So Pionk told me after that we taped the podcast that Appleton and him ended up watching the game, but Green Bay ran away from it, so there wasn't very much a big conversation afterwards. So, but
you know my allegiances in the NFL, and Sunday was a tough day.
It's amazing how much the NFL drives things. It's in the Jets dressing room. They have a fantasy league and all that stuff. We talk about it. I'm a Dolphins fan. There was a miserable,
also a tough day.
There was a flame out totally in the cold weather of Kansas City against the defending Super Bowl champions.
I mean, are you shocked?
No, I try to believe every year, same way as
you should.
Yeah.
So did
the Cowboys flame out against the Green Bay Packers. So there's.
Everybody's texting me after they beat the Eagles. Oh, this team's legit. I'm like,
no,
watch.
You don't know.
Just watch.
The same with the Dolphins in December and January. It's just not.
Our mutual friend Jesse Pollock tweeted something about the Dallas Maple Leafs, which it's not funny.
Speaking of, it was a great conversation with Neal Pionk. Obviously, very good at getting under anybody's skin.
Yep.
You have a pretty good back and forth with him. Obviously, with traveling with him.
I mean, we visited him in his hometown a few summers back, and sort of started that relationship. It's just a good banter back and forth. Always checking in.
Yeah.
How you doing? Type stuff.
He's a good guy.
Really good guy. He's kind of one of those guys where you pass him in the hallway, you're like, Neal, Tyler, Jamie.
Yeah, he was.
What are you up to today?
Yeah, he was yelling at me about the Dodgers trying to buy a championship. Yeah, a little while back.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, Twins.
See,
congrats, you beat the Jays.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I know. And actually, that was another great conversation with him afterwards. Is like I said, are you more of a Vikings fan or a Twins fan? He says he's a Twins fan. So bigger Twins fan than Vikings fan.
That's shocking.
Yeah. He says he listens to a lot of the games on the radio during the summer, which makes a lot of sense. I've seen the scenery where Neal spends his summers. Yeah. He says that I was on the radio often when they're
an old
at their
soul.
place.
Just listening on the radio. It's probably got like one of those
and
antennas.
Baseball's good on the radio.
I can't. Baseball, I'll watch the playoffs. I'll watch the highlights. I care. I don't
100%.
care. Do you know what I mean by that? I care, but I don't care.
Yeah. Playoffs are fun to watch. I agree with you. It's a big commitment, 162 games. I get it.
Yeah.
Having covered the Blue Jays for a long time, it's a long season, especially when they're out of it. Baseball can be even longer.
I used to cover our local Gold Eyes back in the day when I first graduated, and I got paid like $50 to like write a little brief, and inevitably like every game would go to extra innings, and I would be there so long. Which in hindsight, I don't know why I did.
Yeah,
I didn't have to do any post game interviews. I probably could have just written that story from home.
But you were just so excited to have the job and the gig that you just did.
So there was that.
Yeah,
and when I covered. There was no media meal, but you get a little voucher, and you can go to any one of the kiosks. And when you're 21 years old,
free food.
Oh, absolutely! A little hamburger or some pierogies. It was pretty good.
Yeah, baseball. So here's another quick fact. Like I guess baseball games are down like 30 minutes because of the change of the rules,
which is good.
Yeah, the pitch clock. Apparently, the average game last year was 2:39 as opposed to 3:09 the previous year. So baseball made the right choice because of our lack of patience to stick around for 3 hours for a broadcast.
Well, that's fair.
Hopefully, you've had a lot of patience and stuck around for this whole podcast. Tyler and I've had a lot of fun, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I can't confirm. It's good.
You will be in this chair while I'm in, I believe, Boston when we tape this podcast.
Yes,
in Toronto.
You're going on the road. Yeah, excited for that?
My one road trip.
Nice.
We have some great guests lined up. I have Ryan Bonus, the son of Rick Bonus, of course, the associate general manager of the Ottawa Senators, and of course, Jets' first round draft pick, Colby Barlow. Going out to Owen Sound.
Looks older than both you and I.
Oh my gosh! I think he said he was growing facial hair by 17. Which is pretty much how old he was when the Jets drafted him. So,
wow.
And that hair. He's got thick mane of hair.
It's a little wild. It's a little unkempt.
Yeah, told me in Penticton it takes a while to get that under control.
I bet.
So we've all been there, obviously, in our lifetime.
Especially during the COVID when you couldn't get a haircut. Although it didn't really matter.
Yeah, no one saw you. You just wear a toque. We just spent a lot of time with masks on.
Yep.
Another time for that story. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ground Control. Thanks for watching / listening. We'll see you next week.